Chief, pass. Thank you.
All right, I'll call to order the Town of Mount Desert Planning Board meeting for December 11th, 2024. Welcome aboard. Here we are in person and still in Zoom world. So welcome everybody here and online. So let me kick it off with some introductions. I'm William Hanley, I'm chair. I've got Tracy Loftus Keller, she's vice chair. We've got Alan Kimmerly, Gail Marshall, Ann Dalton, all as regular board members, and then alternate member Daniel Burke here tonight. So you've got a full board and an alternate here tonight. So here we are. And then first item, well, I'll say to hopefully everybody out in Zoom world, and I'll say hi to our recording secretary first too. Hi, Heidi. Can you hear us? Yeah.
Hi, Heidi.
Hi, Heidi.
Oops.
Maybe
Heidi.
we need to get Kyle back. Can you guys hear us out in Zoom land? Yeah, great, good. Well, Heidi, good to have you aboard. I'm sure you can hear us. When you can, give us a shout. So we've got a recording secretary joining. Oh,
Okay,
all right,
that's good enough.
that works. It's most important you hear us. Kim Keen is not with us tonight. And first item on the agenda tonight is we've got approval of minutes from, when was that? November 13th, and that was the restaurant sign.
I move approval.
Second.
Right, all those in favor? Aye. Right, let's keep going here. So back. So first item we're reviewing tonight is a conditional use approval application. It's conditional use approval application 1224, and name is Jennifer and Danilo San Jose. Agent is Bobby Burdick and Associates. Location is 57 Harborside Road, Northeast Harbor. Tax map 26, lot 31, zone is shoreline residential 1. Purpose section 3.4, excavation or filling of greater than 150 cubic yards. We had a site inspection at 3 o'clock, and I'll first ask if this one was advertised and butters notified.
So the advertisement was in the newspaper on Wednesday, November 27th, 2024. Says Bangor Daily News. And I'm not quite sure if it was in. Sometimes it gives a whole slew of things, but this just says Bangor Daily News.
Got it.
And then the butters were notified by letter dated November 26th. There were four sets of butters notified.
Right, well then I'll first ask if there's any conflict of interest on the board for this one.
Nope.
No.
No.
None heard. We had a site visit at 3 o'clock. I fully intended to attend also and got sequestered at work, but I believe Ann and Alan attended the site visit. So Ann, would you prefer, or could you
So
report on that, please?
Alan and I met with Bobby at the site, and she let us know the plan, and what they had already received approval for is the driveway coming in, circular area, and just beyond that, or as part of that, they are bringing the level of the land up to level off with a retaining wall. I think it's 3 feet is what we said, 3-foot retaining wall. They'll be adding some granite steps off to another section that will have a grass top surface. There's ledge right underneath the area where there'll be fillings. They aren't gonna be digging down, or it's not gonna be a lot of excavation going on for this project. I think we're looking at the approval because it's a greater amount of fill. So they didn't need the board approval for that. There's another area that they're putting in stairs and another railway, but I'm not sure that's part of our assessment. I think it's the area that they're filling and putting in the retaining wall.
Right, Alan, anything to add?
It did look like there's probably only like 12 inches of soil before they hit ledge.
Mhm.
They did have kind of a ledge wall that showed that easily.
All right,
And, they're just making an area where they can come in and turn a vehicle around so they don't have to back into traffic on the main road there.
And they have some trees that they're able to work around. I think any of them are coming up, right?
all right. Bobby, can I turn it over to you? Anything to add to any of that? Any introduction?
Yeah, the wall's gonna be 30 inches. We have some boulders going on the downhill side. And as Ann said, because of all the ledge there, what we're gonna do is pin the ledge, put it into the wall. And then it'll be a veneered wall. Sort of butts up against the two side setbacks. I think we had the steps, I think we had the steps at the front on the roadside were part of this.
Okay.
I believe. We have five steps going down to an existing path. That goes down around the house, so we're gonna replace the railing that's there. And then new steps going up to their main entrance, which is on the side of the house. That'll be, new granite steps and railings in that location as well.
And I think you had mentioned that the runoff is all coming toward the
Yeah.
center of that.
It is, and actually the ledge, when we were looking at it the other day, it turns out that everything's sort of funneling down the middle anyway, so that'll work in our favor.
Right.
Could I ask for those of us who unfortunately couldn't be there? This is the drawing. Could you come and show me when you talk about the wall and the stairs? Could you just tell us which ones you're?
Yep.
Is this the wall? you're
Yeah,
talking
this
about?
is the wall here.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
side setbacks are shown right there.
Okay,
So there's an existing ledge outcropping that comes across this location and it basically fills this whole area. So the 30-inch wall comes across here and the grade comes up to create a level lawn area.
okay,
And then, as we already said, the sort of driveway that's been approved is
Mhm.
coming in here, side steps to the main entrance.
and those are the ones you're talking about?
Those are being replaced.
Yeah.
There's some, hard to call them steps, they're there right now.
Okay,
And then this is a new granite landing that's replacing a concrete landing that was there. And then steps that come down to this existing path, comes around the side of the house.
okay,
There's also these two piers on the edge of the road that we're proposing to move to either side of the new driveway. A little more sense there.
And they did have stakes where this wall
Yeah.
is going in for us to see.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, it's a little hard to read with being so small.
All right.
Everyone get a chance to see.
Yeah. Yep. Sheet S1 and S2, so I'll open it up to the public if there are any questions about this application. Now's your chance. Going once. Twice. Anybody, any questions? All right, I'm gonna close public comments and we're gonna get going with the review here. So, first thing I'll ask for a motion to find the application complete.
So moved.
Second.
Right, all those in favor?
Uh,
Aye. And where we're dealing with Phil on this one, anybody care to consider maybe using the short form checklist?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, Tracy beat you. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we do our little procedural thing. I need a motion to approve the application.
I, so moved.
Second,
We press the pause button and we go and we review the application, so let's get at it. So is the short form checklist in there?
Um,
Hopefully,
But great,
yes, yay. All right, so I've got the short form checklist, I've got the application. My trusty Luso binder, just in case, and I'm just gonna follow along here and. Let's go through it, so. So the first. We are reviewing section 6A first, general performance standards. And. The 6A starts with 6A1, my favorite, compatibility. And then under compatibility, we talk about physical size, visual impact, they talk about the aesthetics being improved, proximity to other structures. We've got a site plan, density of development, and no increase there, so 6A1, C application. 6A2, erosions and sedimentation control. They have a erosion and sedimentation control plan attached, so see application. 6A3, highway safety. The applicant talks about the project construction is away from the highway and it's not causing congestion and there's plenty of off-street parking. So see application. Impact on town services is NA. 6A5, land suitability. You know, again, they reference their drainage and stormwater management plan. So see application. 6A6, lighting.
yeah, that maybe isn't.
Yeah. Right, it's, so they've got NA for lighting outdoor. Stormwater, 6A7.
But shouldn't that be applicable standards? You have lighting that's gonna be.
Yeah, we
applicable.
do.
So that's probably a typo that you, on the application, you mark not applicable.
Yeah, we do have lighting.
That's a good
Yeah.
catch.
Like,
So let's change 6A6 lighting outdoor from NA to C application.
And I think you might need to correct that with Kim.
Yeah, you,
That's just the application itself to make
Yeah.
it.
do we, is that?
there's no, they're all,
I would assume it is, but I don't know that for certain.
It is, it's stamped original. You wanna come change that, Bobby?
Oh, okay.
What page is it on?
Five.
Five of
5, okay. Okay.
So moving on to 6A7 stormwater. We've got a attached stormwater plan,
Good to see.
so C application.
Yeah, so you wanna check the correct
Yep,
box.
yep.
And maybe
Initially.
initial that, and then maybe, I don't know how you want to strike out the X that is existing. Okay,
Just do what you gotta do and initial it. And then
okay, that's excellent.
Thank you.
vegetation. We have applicable standard met checked. So C application. 6A9, dust fumes, vapors, odors and gases. They say applicable standard met, so C application. So the findings of fact are presented by the applicant and the attached application, and the conclusion of law is that the proposed use is in compliance with all standards of section 6A for which the standard has been met.
I move that 6A, the standards of 6A have been met.
second,
Right, all those in favor?
I,
Aye. All right, then we move on to section 6B. All right. These are pretty much all NA agriculture. 6B1 NA. 6B2 air landing sites. It's NA, and the reason we are here, section 6B7 excavation. And so the applicant shows that we're in district SR1. You know, they've got more than 150 cubic yards. They estimate approximately 400 cubic yards. And see application. 6B8 fences and walls. There are no fences and walls. NA. 6B16, and I'm following on the checklist here, is NA sign regulations. 6B18, they're not proposing a cell tower, so NA. 6B19, animal husbandry 2, no chickens, NA. Mobile food vendors, NA, no food truck. 6B21, rooming house, NA, and 6B22, it's not a hotel or motel, so NA. So the findings of fact are that the proposed use will include none of the specific activities or land uses described in section 6B, except for applicable section 6B7 excavation, and the conclusion was section 6B is not applicable except for section 6B7, for which the standard has been met.
They are putting in a small wall. This wall right here.
Fences and walls, so
But it's a small,
it's
I
a-
believe
yes.
it's under the height
Yes,
requirements
right.
for the
Yeah,
permit
that's-
plus.
it's not a 6 foot.
yeah, Ellen, I think we're okay there.
I move that the findings and conclusions are that the standards of 6B have been met.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sections, they are in the shoreline zone, right? Shoreline, shoreland residential one zone, so,
This is March.
yeah, so we're gonna just bear with us here. So we are in the shoreline zone, so we have to go through section 6C of section 6 of our land use ordinance, so I'm just flipping through the application to section 6C. Page 18. Need pages of NA. So Bobby, we might have you correct some of this.
Okay.
It's all good. But, so on the following along on the checklist for section 6C shoreline zoning standards for review by the planning board. Our first one we review is agriculture, 6C1, and that is NA. And 62 archaeological sites, they've got the attached MHPC letter. So C application. Essential services, 6C5, NA. Section 6C6, parking areas. They say NA. 67 marine freshwater and structure standards, you're not building a pier.
Can I go back to the parking area a second? It does have a
Yeah.
parking area, but the setback is way, way far from the, the,
But the parking area
It's part-
is part of a prior application, a
Okay.
prior permit.
Yeah.
It's not a part of this, right? That's what I'm saying.
Correct.
Section 69, roads and driveways. Applicant says applicable standard met. 6C11, water quality.
That hasn't been checked. That needs to be done.
Yes, so two things, she's gotta check that and then check that,
18
change
and
that
24.
first one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. First and easiest is the. This one, yep.
Hey, this is Heidi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yay, it was my earbuds, I guess. My question is that last one, water quality, what was that one?
she's,
Where are you?
we're just completing the original application now, and I would assume she's checking applicable standard met.
Where am I? Which page was I on to start with?
So,
I
so
got the
you're,
24.
so she should change this to standard met.
Okay,
Right.
so mark that one and then go do away with this one.
And the other one is page 24.
Yeah,
We got that one. We can flip it again.
top of page 24.
We got that one. They said again, right? An A.
Yeah. No, 24.
Oh, 24, oh, sorry.
It's this. No, it's not, it's, we want her to meet the standards of water quality.
There are just too many boxes there.
Exactly. Okay, there you go.
There you go.
Thank you.
So on the short form checklist for section 6C11, it's C application. So the findings of fact are that the proposed use include none of the specific activities or land uses described in section 6C except for applicable sections. What do we got? 62. 6C. What did they have for 69 roads and driveways, NA,
No, I believe it was standards met.
standard map?
16.
Applicable standard met.
Okay, so C application and 6C11. So the applicable sections again are 6C2, 6C9 is 6C11. I got that, that sound right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Right, and then the conclusion laws, section 60 is not applicable except for 6C2, 6C9, and 6C11. For which the standard has been met.
I move that the standards, the application demonstrates the standards of 6C have been met.
Second.
Right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And 6C9 roads and driveways was part of a previous application. So where you guys are in the shoreline zone, we've got to go and do section 5.9. So I got that in front of me. So let's do it. So we'll 591, we'll maintain safe and healthful conditions. See application, will not result in water pollution, erosion, or sedimentation of surface waters. See application. 593 will adequately provide for the disposal of all wastewater, NA, you're not dealing with that. 594 will not have an adverse impact on spawning grounds, fish, aquatic life, bird, or other wildlife habitat. They have a map attached, so see application. 595 will conserve shore cover and visual as well as actual points of access to inland and coastal waters. NA. 596 will protect archaeological and historic resources as designated in the comp plan. They have the MHPC letter attached, so see application. 597 will not adversely affect existing commercial fishing or maritime activities in a shoreline commercial district. Gonna
The application.
see application. You're not in a shoreline commercial district, but you,
Probably not.
yeah, I would say technically that's NA. will avoid problems associated with the floodplain. They have a floodplain map submitted. So, and they say see application, so see application. Is in conformance with the provisions of section 6A, B, and C, which the standard has been met. So the findings of fact for section 5.9 are see above. And the conclusion of law is that all requirements for section 5.9 have been met.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any permit conditions to this one? Waiting on any other permits or anything or? All right, so any final questions, discussion? All right, so then we circle back to our 8-track and press play on the approval vote. All those in favor of approving the application?
I,
Aye. Congrats.
So there's two corrections that I need to forward to Kim.
We've,
They're on
Did you
the,
put it on the original?
yeah, we got them on the original,
Thank you, everyone.
yeah.
thank you.
So I'll start the recycling pile.
Thank you.
All right. So that was item 3 on the agenda. That was our only conditional use approval application tonight. Item 4 on the agenda tonight, we have section 4.3 non-conforming structures. And tonight we have owner name Northeast Harbor Haven LLC. Agent is Greg Johnston, GS Johnston and Associates. Location is 6 South Shore Road, Northeast Harbor. Tax map 22, lot 005, zone is Shoreland Residential 3. And the purpose tonight is section 4.3.6, reconstruction and replacement. Section 4.3.5, relocation. Section 4.3.4, foundation. And section 4.3F, limitations on height of non-conforming structures. And this is for the reconstruction and replacement of a recreational boathouse. Site inspection was at 2:30 and was this advertised and a butter is notified. I would assume it's. in-
butters were notified, and if I could just get my hands on it. It was in the newspaper, flipped it right over, Vanguard Daily News on Wednesday, November 27th.
All right.
And it was in the butters list, I just don't, I'm trying to find the letter.
So we're all good. We got an abutters list and it's been advertised. Is there any conflict of interest on the board?
No.
Nope.
None heard. We had a site visit at 2:30 that Ann and Alan attended, and Alan, why don't you report on the site visit today?
Well, we got there, and of course, the weather was beautiful. And there was absolutely no remnants of site structure left. And there was some granite cement pilings that had also collapsed in the great storm of this January. And they're planning on cutting one tree down that only goes up 12 feet, 13 feet. Oh, so it's a dead tree.
There's no branches.
Yeah, the whole top of it's already gone. And they're maintaining all the other trees. And so the new structure will basically mimic what was there before, which we only have a cute little painting of. But they're just gonna move it back slightly and up slightly to maintain all the, yep, all the stuff they would use a boathouse for.
All right. Ann, anything to add to that?
Well, the path walkway access to it is beautifully maintained and, obviously the family wouldn't want to see it disrupted. It goes right down to the location perfectly, has a nice grade to it. Other areas around it are quite steep. It also has all the electrical and water sources to the site that serviced that building prior to the destruction of it, still remain there.
Mhm.
Think of anything else that Alan didn't cover?
Right, well then I will turn it over to Greg and why don't you carry on from there, Greg?
Sure, so it is the reconstruction, but the raising of it, to meet the FEMA compliance of being above the flood zone. It's not going the full 3 feet above, as we talked about the height. Think about the boathouse in itself and, the 3 residences there. There's a long mooring path, but also there are 10 moorings of extended family and long history on the property that use the boathouse. Boathouse has electricity, pools that people help maintain the boats. There's medical equipment, defibrillators that they keep there. And so there are quite a bit of activity using that boathouse other than the people are there. So proximity of the structures and that activity is best set there. If we think about how hard it is to get it kind of traverses this long slope, which is only by foot. We have the trenching underground power and water is already to the location. If you're geographically oriented, this is sort of just across the cove from Clifton Dock. It sort of faces Clifton Dock. And the property has been laid out. You've seen the plan. Yes, it's 18 acres, but there are preserved vistas. The call it the southeasterly side of the property is very exposed bluff. The pier is still there. The pier comes and goes each winter. The function of the boathouse relative to the vegetation, everything else, we don't have to take it. We just need to elevate it. And so I think as we go through the sections, we've provided quite a bit of support in there, and we can foster the discussion. I'd like to mention that John Manganello and Peter Milliken are part of the family that manage the property. They're here. They can help answer questions as we go too. So with that,
Right.
thank you guys for braving the weather and spending tonight at the meeting.
Right, thank you. Well, I mean, let's open up to any questions from the public. You do have any questions, ask away. Well, considering it's just Greg in the room with us, and not seeing any questions from the public here, and I'm not hearing any online, so I'll close public comment then, and just, I've got a couple questions about it, like, so the use of the boathouse isn't changing or expanding, I mean.
The
it's-
boathouse is not expanding.
Yeah.
It's the same footprint. It is moving slightly back because
Mhm.
we elevate it. We need to be able to intersect with the land.
Mhm.
And where we can set the piers on the ledge is further inland, so it moves back about 8 feet inland. So, but the use is not, and I think the term recreational is a little bit, it's the ordinance would call something recreational in the commercial category. It's actually residential.
Mhm.
Residentially recreated differently than commercial.
Technically, though, it's a utility structure that's dedicated for storage of items relative to boat use and maintenance.
Yep.
So it sounds like it's also becoming a little less non-conforming in terms of its proximity to the shore and also its elevation to the floodplain.
Those are true, correct.
How long was and I assume the other boathouse disappeared in the spring? when,
It was in January 10th, and I think in the back of there's a picture of where it ended up in the debris out on Clifton Dock. And then I'll say to go clean it up and.
so the boathouse went for a boat ride?
Smash the smithereens.
Yeah. God. How long was the previous one there?
Boy, I'm gonna garner at least 1940, that might be able to elaborate, but it's been there for a long time.
Yeah. And you said that the pier comes and goes, how does?
So we talked over, we talked
Yeah.
over the years, and we were back here, we replaced the pier, which got destroyed 2 years ago, I'm gonna lose track of time, but 2 years ago. With aluminum, pier and fixed sections instead of piles, that aluminum pier just. Gets stored for the winter offsite. Just
All right.
goes off.
Got it.
Just like you would aluminum red.
Any
What
question?
is the FEMA?
That zone, I believe, is a 14.
Because so they vary depending on the zone.
They vary depending on the exposure, right, depending on the
Okay.
fetch or the reach of coming in for wave development. You'll, it floods to a still water elevation, and then based on the wind exposure,
Okay,
you get a DE zone, which would elevate in a velocity hazard, district, the elevation, so they change. In Mount Desert, they will change probably 10 different times along the coastline.
Okay. so that clarifies that for me, because when we last met, we were talking about the swim club, and that is a different height.
It is.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, correct. The thing here is actually a 16 where that.
16, I
side
see
is
that, yeah.
14. Yep.
And Greg, can you talk about the floodplain structure elevation change that came into effect?
Yeah, so the
Couple years ago.
that section in footnote D is you were allowed to elevate to 3 feet of the flood zone. Or there's a greater or, and we're not elevating to 3 feet above the flood zone. We're going to put to the floorboard, the bottom of the horizontal member. The allotted maximum is 3 feet above that flood zone, which would be a 19, and we're like at a 17. And that's because we'll build it with concrete rebar piers, concrete floor, walls to be resilient. And because you wouldn't have access to the shore if you just out of, I don't say knee-jerk reaction, just kept going up, because then you need a fire hole to get back down. And it marries into the land nicely on the backside at that elevation.
And that previous to that regulation change, as you used to have to lift buildings up to become compliant with the floodplain elevation, the pre-existing ridge height had to stay, so you were compressing your buildings, and that's one reason why they changed that, because we were just starting to populate the shore with all these awful looking squished buildings, so I think that was actually a very reasonable change that the feds put in place, so. Any other questions about our boathouse?
Did you get an appraisers? What?
So we did not, because the and what is the fact is here, the fact that it's destroyed is acknowledged that it is not have any value, that it's not there. If we had some evidence of foundation left, I think that would have been a threshold question. Have been appraised, it's not there, and I think that's
It's 100% evaporated.
yes.
There you go.
If there was, in the context of a floor or renovation, and you know, I can see like, well, where are you on that threshold of the market value, and it's just not there.
All right, so with so public comments closed. Sounds like we asked our initial questions here, and
So do you think that, question about with the requirement in the statute, in the ordinance about
The appraisal,
getting appraiser that it,
so we
that a
got,
vanished building abrogates responsibility to have an appraiser dot the I and cross the T?
yeah, so it's the, seems a little incongruent, but, let's get there first
Okay,
and,
I mean,
so
I
I,
get it.
so I was.
But-
Just let's outline procedure here, so. With the non-conforming structures, maybe one day we'll have a checklist for these things, I mean, we do have some.
Christmas is coming.
Yes, we do have some forms to follow along with, but it's, it is a kind of a circuitous. Review path for us where we essentially start in section 4.36 to see if. Qualify that we have jurisdiction, and then we kind of jump backwards and work forwards back up to 4.36. So so. We identified there's no conflict of interest. Let's first get let's get a vote here or a motion about finding the application complete. Feel like
Do we
you're at, do we do that?
Sorry.
Do we have enough information here?
Yeah,
you
yeah,
think?
I move the application.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So we've got enough here to review this, and so, first thing we gotta do is look to 4.36. And we've got paragraph after paragraph after paragraph here. I could
Mhm.
bore everybody with, but yeah, so the opening statement of section 4.36 is pretty clear, and it talks about that any non-conforming structure which is located less than the required setback. I mean, Greg, just for the record, how close was this thing actually to like the water line? It was over the water line. So if it was located less than required setback from the water body, that's 75 feet. In this case, tributary stream or wetland, which is removed, damaged, or destroyed, regardless of the cause, by more than 50% of the market value of the structure before such damage, destruction, or removal. It may be reconstructed or replaced, provided that a permit is obtained within 18 months of the said damage. Or we're within that 18-month window.
Correct.
And provided that such reconstruction or replacement is in compliance with the water body, tributary stream, wetland setback, to the greatest practical extent. We'll talk about that later. It's not any larger than the original structure.
It's not.
Now, are you removing vegetation?
Or not, in fact.
And then you read through. You read
We could do
through,
this mostly by barge, I mean.
We have to, correct?
yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, you read through 4.6 and really it's like
Want me to try it again?
yeah, so you get down to this, you get down to the brass tacks here and it talks about the fifth. Says that located less than the required setback and it's removed by 50% or less of the market value, or damaged or destroyed by 50% of less of the market value of the structure, excluding no, I mean, there's nothing there
Right.
anymore. It's completely evaporated. The appraiser must make the determination of market value. So,
And not to say that we don't have to meet that criteria, but I would say that if we have something to determine a market value, then I think that applies.
mhm.
There's no market value, there's nothing to appraise.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the chicken or the egg.
So, yeah. It's making market value.
Yeah. So Gail, you wanna take a stab at
I will start with a deep breath. So I'm gonna basically start here and tick off these
Yeah.
issues. Is that what you're proposing?
yeah, so.
Do
You're,
these findings?
yep, so we had, yes, so we have the same form here,
Yeah.
section 436, just for Heidi's reference, and Gail's gonna try to structure some findings of fact and conclusion of law for us here. On 436.
Regarding the facts of this matter, the board finds that the size of the lot is approximately 18 acres. The slope of the land, according to, and this is according to the map that was provided, the slope of the land is throughout this lot very steep, according to the lines on the map. The potential for soil erosion, were this to be put someplace else, might be quite significant. And it would be minimized by the plan as proposed, which is to move the existing structure approximately 8 feet back from its current location. There are 3 other dwellings on the property. They all can have this is a very long established property, very long, the landscaping is long established, the trees are long established, it's very ledgy. And it is unlikely that substantial interference with the trees or other parts of the soil would be done without significant damage to the property, to the property and the erosion. There are sight lines from each of the property, from each of the buildings that need to be maintained that would further limit the ability to relocate the building to a more conforming location.
Gail, this is,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can you just repeat that one more time?
There are, that last one, there are sight lines indicated for each of the dwellings that further limit the ability to build this building in another location on this property.
Great, thank
It-
you.
Um. Leaving this building in approximately the same location maintains the status quo with respect to adjacent properties. Does not increase the visibility of this structure by following the plan as proposed. The septic system issues are not relevant because this property is tied into municipal sewage. There is to be little, if any, vegetation removed to accomplish this location. So therefore, we do not need to find, with regard to the shoreland zone, that vegetation needs to be reestablished to meet the standards of the ordinance, because it won't be removed in the first place. The replacement structure will be no larger than the original structure. The building itself was entirely destroyed. Therefore, the question of the percentage of value that remains is somewhat academic because there is no remaining value to that structure, except for perhaps, is there any value of pilings or anything like that? They're all gonna be replaced as well. Okay. This all occurred within 18 months of the application. It occurred in January of 2024, so they're within that window. Therefore, the conclusion of law is that the planning board has jurisdiction to review this application and the location, the proposed location meets the setback requirement to the greatest practical extent.
Second,
What did I miss?
I think you hit it all there, Gail, and then some. Heidi, should we ask you to?
I would love to. Hold on a second.
Thank you.
Alrighty. So what I have is, I'm just trying to. The size of the lot is approximately 18 acres. Slope of the land is throughout the property very steep. Sorry. Potential for soil erosion, if relocated, could be significant and will be minimized by keeping the structure as is. Where proposed, I guess. The structure will be removed 8 feet from the current location. There are 3 buildings on the property. Landscaping and trees are long established. It's unlikely that it's unlikely. I didn't write this very well. But what the gist was changing the trees or soil. It's unlikely that changing the trees or soil would not, I'm sorry, it's like a back. Removing the trees and soil would likely cause erosion damage, is what it should say. The sight line indicated for each of the dwellings that further limit the ability to build on another location. Leaving this building in approximately the same location maintains the status quo with adjacent properties. It does not decrease the visibility of the structure, I think is what was said.
It doesn't.
It does not, yes. The septic system issues are not relevant. The property is tied into the municipal sewer. There is to be little, if any, vegetation removed. Therefore, we do not need to find with regard to shoreland zone that vegetation needs to be established. Replacement structure won't be larger than the original structure. The building was entirely destroyed. Therefore, the question of percentage of value is academic. There is no remaining value except for the pilings. The damage occurred within 18 months of the application, happening in January of 2024. Therefore, the conclusion of law is that the planning board has jurisdiction of the application and the proposed location meets the setback requirement to the greatest practical extent.
The pilings aren't there, are they?
They're not.
Okay,
They are
Sorry.
not?
we should correct that. The pilings are gone.
Okay,
They are not.
no remaining value. I'll just take out the pilings completely. There.
You can tell I wasn't at the site visit.
We had a vote. Did we have a second?
second,
Yeah, we had Alan seconded.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
aye,
Opposed? All right, there's 436, so let's sign that.
Would that we were done.
So this. Where's our agenda? I think we go to 435 now.
Yeah, would be fine.
Yeah.
Which is somewhat redundant.
Yeah, so we kind of touch upon similar things here, but. So we trigger 435 because we're talking about relocation of a non-conforming structure. And that, that talks about that the site of relocation conforms to all setback requirements, the greatest practical extent as determined by the planning board, provided that the applicant demonstrates that the present, this isn't relative, but that the sewage disposal system meets the requirements of state law. And that a new system can be installed in compliance with the law. That's in no case shall a structure be relocated in a manner that causes the structure to be more non-conforming. And then during determining whether the building relocation meets the setback to the greatest practical extent, the planning board shall consider. And here we go again, on what we touched upon on 436. We talk about the size of the lot, the topography, slope of the land, the potential for soil erosion, location of other structures on the property, location of the septic system, vegetation to be removed, and any approval conditions. So, I think you can probably get through that pretty concisely.
Are you ready? With respect to section 4.3.
So is this a motion?
Yes,
All right,
I move that with respect to the section 4.3.5. Relocation of non-conforming structure. The board finds that the size of the lot is 18 acres. The lot is, there are 3 residential structures currently on the lot, complete with preserved views. The lot itself is the topography of the lot is that it's very steeply sloped in most cases on the property. It is very.
Okay, can you hold on just 1 second? I'm having an issue with my laptop here. I apologize. Hold on just 1 second.
so I think just as we work through the motion, talk about the findings of fact and the conclusion of law for each one.
All right.
Okay, I'm back. And yes, where were we? I start on 4.3.5 with size of lot.
We're gonna
Just
replay.
one comment from prior board decisions on these things. We don't have to have 100% of compliance on this, like for instance, with the size of lot, they've got 18
Right.
acres.
Right.
They could potentially move this thing somewhere else, but
Right, but there are all these other factors.
yeah, but there are all these other factors.
Correct.
So
Correct. So, starting over again. I move that regarding the standards of section 4.3.5 relocation of non-conforming structures, the board finds. With respect to the size of the lot, that the size of the lot is 18 acres. It is a mature, developed lot with 3 existing structures, each of which have site paths that further bisect the property. The property is the prior structure that is proposed to be replaced has been in its location for decades. It is relevant that it is near, given its use, it's relevant that it's near the mooring field for the property, and there is no other location on this, around this property for that. It is very, I'll get to the topography in a second. Therefore, the location proposed is the only possible location. With regard to the topography or the slope of the land is very steeply sloped in almost all areas. That also limits the ability to access that property, that structure. The topography, therefore, the finding is, the conclusion is that topography makes relocation impractical. The potential for soil erosion. The proposal presents the best chance of reconstructing this building with little to no soil erosion. The indication is that this property is fairly thinly soiled, that there's a great deal of ledge. There are mature trees. And once you start cutting trees to put them in a different location, you run the risk of creating further loss of trees, and you run the risk of erosion that you wouldn't have if you built this as is proposed only 8 feet back from its current location. Therefore, the project will be built via a barge rather than by bringing materials and equipment over the land. So the project will not generate erosion. Therefore, the conclusion is that the standards for soil erosion have been met. Regarding the location of other structures on the property and on adjacent properties, by placing this building back 8 feet from its current location, you will not change in any significant way the relation of the replaced building as it pertains to the other structures on the property or adjacent properties. Therefore, the standards of location of other structures on the property has been met. Regarding the location of a septic system, the finding is that the property is connected to public sewer, and therefore that standard, the conclusion is that standard is not applicable. Vegetation to be removed to accomplish the relocation. The board finds that there is next to no vegetation removal that will be occasioned, and no replacement of removed vegetation required. And the conclusion, therefore, is the standards of vegetation have been met.
But you need to talk about it in the context of that. Its current location. If we were to see,
If we were to, so
moving it, then
if we were to require this building to be placed on another location of the property, there would be significant destruction of and removal of vegetation and significant vegetation replacement required. In contrast to this proposal, which will require nothing. Does that work for you?
Mm.
Therefore, the standards of vegetation have been met. In addition, there are no other, what is this last thing about approval conditions?
the approval conditions, are there any?
Are you gonna have to get DEP? Is that in process or, okay,
So we're good on approval.
Okay.
conditions.
there are no conditions for approval conditions, and the standards have been met. That is the end of my long motion.
Second?
Yeah,
Are you still alive, Heidi?
I am. You want that read back?
This has been worse, hasn't it?
yes, please.
Alrighty. Okay, so size of lot, the size of lot is 18 acres. It is a mature developed lot with 3 existing structures with site paths that further bisect the property. Prior structures, the previous structure has been in its location for decades. Given its use, it's relevant that it's near the mooring location. I do not know even, I just wrote some gibberish there, I guess. Uh, okay, no, therefore, the location proposed is the only one realistically possible. Slope of land, the land is steeply sloped. This limits the ability to access the structure. Therefore, the conclusion, topography makes the relocation impractical. Soil erosion. The proposal presents the best chance for reconstruction with little change regarding erosion. The property is thinly soiled with ledge with mature trees. Removing trees risks further erosion that would not happen relocating the building the proposed 8 feet. The project, is that what it's supposed to be? Oh, the project will be built using barge instead of bringing materials over land. The conclusion of law is that the standard was met. Location of other structures on the property and adjacent properties. By moving the building back by 8 feet, no significant change will occur in relation to buildings on the property or other properties. I didn't hear a conclusion of law for that one, but I would imagine standards are met or something.
Yes.
Okay. And then the septic system property is connected to the municipal septic system. Therefore, it's not applicable. Vegetation, there is next to no vegetation. What is this? There is next to no vegetative removal required. If the board requires replacement, it would require significant removal of vegetation.
Or
Maybe
maybe if the board requires relocation,
relocation.
it would require significant.
Yes, I just wrote the wrong R word. We better change it. Okay, yes, so if the board requires relocation, it would require significant removal of vegetation. There were no conditions and the standards have been met.
I want to make one correction. I said at the outset that there were 3 other buildings on the property. I think I should say there are 3 other residences, because I think there are some other smaller buildings on the property as well.
Okay.
The other thing, thinking maybe we should clarify more just instead of saying that it's decades old, because I mean, decades could be the 80s, but maybe if it was built in the 40s, I think we should make mention that it predates the town land use ordinance and state shoreline zoning standards.
I think that's.
Well, we can probably certainly say that.
Yeah, I think we could say that, I'm not sure.
If the 40s was the right decade, but it predates state's shoreline zoning and Mount Desert land use zoning ordinance.
Right, we can certainly add that. We can certainly
All right.
use that word.
How about can you hear me?
Yes.
How about prior structure has been in its location predating the Luso and state shoreland zoning?
Yeah.
Yes.
Alrighty.
Should we put probably?
No, we don't
Probably.
need to. I don't need to.
We don't know the exact date.
Well, we've got Mr. Milliken here with us.
Well, Greg says no.
Greg says no.
He said we don't need to put probably.
All right, we don't need to say probably. Let's
You
speak.
can withdraw your second.
Yes, let's speak. All right,
Okay,
are we good? We had a motion, a second. Any further discussion? None heard, so let's circle back to approval then. All those in favor? Aye, opposed. Okay, well, that was 1, 2 of 3. Right. That was section 435.
We have 4.3 and 4.3.2.
So I've got- So it continues to repeat itself, but
Is the Department of Redundancy.
it is, so. You know, we're looking at section 434 technically. And, you know, what we're looking at here at is like the non-conforming structures and their foundation. And so what that talks about is like, you know, whenever a new enlarged or replacement foundation is constructed under a non-conforming structure, the structure new foundation must be placed so that the setback requirement is met to the greatest practical extent as determined by the planning board. You know, and here we go again. I mean, we're talking about the size of the lot, soil erosion, topography, other structures, location of septic system, and clearing of vegetation. So, you know,
Can I
yes,
put that motion to cover both provisions?
that's exactly what I was gonna suggest. And Greg, or
Maybe as a precursor to that, could we talk about the foundation and the foundation type?
Yes,
Yes.
And then how that standard.
because we do have to do that.
so, yeah, so we talk about that and then we could have a motion perhaps that says, look. You know, that the foundation and, you know, and review something about time.
Well, we can
Review
incorporate by
criteria
reference
to-
the motion. to
Yeah,
relative to
435. Yes,
Until somebody tells us otherwise.
so let's. Tell us about the foundation again, just for the
Foundation
record.
is pier foundation elevated above the flood zone, allow the ebb and flow as it comes up onto the land and pass underneath the building.
So it's stone pier or what is it? Is it-
There'd be concrete piers, rebar
Okay,
and elevated.
into existing ledge and,
Correct.
you know,
Yep, and the foundation moved back to where we have ledge on the land to shorten them and it allows the building to be elevated.
mhm.
The deck marries with the land at that location.
And a pier system is an open foundation system.
Correct.
There you go, Gail.
Thank you, Bill.
Mhm.
I move that with respect to 4.3 non-conforming structures, 4.3.4 4.3.4 non-conforming structures foundation. The board finds that the proposed pilings
Proposed foundation.
for the foundation will be reinforced concrete pinned to the ledge. And will be of such a height that the building will meet FEMA standards. Actually exceed it by 1 foot, correct? So you're within the, yes, exceed it by 1 foot. And there.
And now he had
Right,
into 435.
well, I guess I would also say the pilings will be in a similar location. Only approximately 8 feet back.
They're within the same footprint of the prior building.
Right. But they'll all be moved 8 feet back. Okay. And the building will be higher. Right, so. In addition to that, the motion. Of the board relative to 4.3.5 relocation of non-conforming structures. The findings of fact and conclusions of law therein are incorporated into this motion by reference. I don't think there's anything else. Same thing. That's all I'm gonna say unless you object.
Second,
There you go. Oh, Heidi.
Yeah, so that is a very good idea. Okay, to just shorten it like this. So what I have for findings, the proposed pilings for the foundation will be reinforced concrete pinned to the ledge and will be such a height that the building will meet or will exceed FEMA standards by 1 foot. The pilings will be in a similar location, approximately 8 feet back, and using the same footprint as the prior building. The building will be higher. In addition, the motion of the board relative to section 4.3.5, I did not write out the whole section, but I will in the official motion. The findings of facts and conclusion of law are incorporated into this motion by reference.
So just where we're specifically talking about foundations, I feel like we should probably say something at the beginning like that the proposed reconstruction foundation is like an open foundation system
Yeah.
comprising of new concrete piers.
I would accept that as an amendment to a change to the beginning of my description of the filings. Could you,
Is that
do you need me to re-say that, Heidi, or can you do that?
No,
Say it.
I've got it, unless we need you to re-say it, but I did catch it. The proposed reconstruction foundation is an open foundation comprising of new concrete piers. And then it goes into pilings for the foundation will be reinforced. I can read the whole thing again if you'd like.
That's good.
Yes,
gotta-
read it or no.
Negative.
All right.
So we've got a motion, we've got a second, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, another one to sign.
And then you have 4.3.2.
You know, I don't have a checklist for 432.
Most of them about the height.
432, 432 F would be the expansion of shoreline zone. But I think the,
We don't consider that, for the purposes of 4.3.2 point F, 4.3.2 F. We don't need to check that off.
You're keeping track of
Yeah.
it.
even though it's in an outline that's expansions. It does talk about
Correct,
height.
the height.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 4.3.2 F. Here's F. This is. F.
Do we have a checklist for no.
We didn't receive a checklist for that in the email that Jennifer sent. In the agenda, it notes section 4.3 F. There is no 2 on the agenda item. Just pointing that out.
Thing.
I mean, this is a pretty straightforward.
Right.
Yeah, so. What is 4.3.2.f?
It's 4. It's 4.3.
2F.
2, no, actually, it's,
4.2F. 2F. Okay.
yeah,
That's 4.2F.
4.3, 2F.
4.3.2F. So 4.3.2F.
Right.
No.
that doesn't exist. Oh, yeah.
It-
4.3,
If you look at 4.3.2,
notwithstanding
Yeah.
limitations.
yes,
On 4.3.2
4.3.2 F.
Okay, so I just want to point out on the agenda, it referenced 4.3F. but we were,
0.2.
yeah, there's a 0.2 in there. And so here we're just talking about.
Right.
About building height relative to the floodplain elevation, and I'm just gonna read Gale's. But what 4.3.2.f refers to is that it talks about that the limitations on height imposed under the paragraphs above, the height of a structure that is a legally existing non-conforming principal or accessory structure may be raised to, but not above the minimum elevation necessary to be consistent with the local floodplain management elevation requirement, or to 3 feet above the base flood elevation, whichever is greater, as long as the structure is relocated, reconstructed, replaced, or elevated within the boundaries of the parcel so that the water body or wetland setback requirement is met to the greatest practical extent. This paragraph applies to structures that have or are proposed to be relocated, reconstructed, replaced, or elevated to be consistent with the local floodplain management elevation, and 2 are located in an area of special flood hazards. So I think that we have evidenced in in our review of 435 and 436 and 434 that the proposed reconstruction and relocation has met the setback to the greatest practical extent.
Right.
And now we need a motion relative to that. It is in compliance with section 4.3.2.f relative to its relevance to the base flood elevation.
Yes, the board moves with respect to 4.3.2F. That the location is within a designated flood zone. In the portion of the FEMA panels, 1216 and 1217 show that it is zone AE. And the height, the FEMA flood height is 16 feet, is that correct?
I think it's, 16, correct.
Right. And the
Sorry,
board,
I think my bad wrong.
yeah, the board,
That's, sorry. It's
Sorry?
Actually, it's PE 16, it's PE 16, not AE.
VE 16? Okay, I was just reading the map, trying to read your map.
Well, it's weird, I had the same thing that has an AE next to it.
I totally trust you.
Can you say that zone again? I couldn't quite catch it.
What's the FEMA zone that it's in?
B is in Victor, Echo 16.
VE 16.
Thank
It is
you.
in, it is in FEMA, VE's 16. And I assume the 16 may be designating the height, the flood height, right? And the building itself will, the floor of the building is projected to be at 17 feet.
Lowest horizontal number.
Yes. The bottom of the floor, which is within the 3 feet allowance in the ordinance in subsection F.
And
therefore, and the height of the building is that gonna be 12 feet from that point?
It is, yeah, the building is the same as the existing.
Right, I think it's,
Elevated less than, and it's 12 feet
12.
from the finished floor.
right, so therefore, the board finds that the provisions. Oh, and incorporated by reference into this motion are also the motions pertaining to section 4.3.6 and 4.3.5 with respect to all other provisions of 4.3.2.f. And therefore the board finds that the standards of that subsection have been met.
Second,
Do it.
What do you think, Heidi?
All right, I'm not sure I caught it all, but this is what I've got. With respect to section 4.3.2F, that the location is within a designated flood zone. The portion of the FEMA panels show that it's in zone VE 16 and the FEMA flood height is 16 feet. The building itself, regarding the building itself, the floor of the building is projected to be at 17 feet, which is within the 3 feet allowance in the ordinance subsection F. The height of the building will be the same height as the existing and incorporated by reference the motions of 4.3.6 and 4.3.5 in accordance to all other provisions in section 4.3.2F. I think I missed a couple words in there. I'm sorry. All standards of section 4.3.2F have been met.
And when I said, and
Yep.
you actually wrote that it's gonna be the same height as the existing structure, you should say prior structure, there is no existing structure.
Prior. All righty. Got that.
Thank you.
Yep.
So we had a motion, we had a second.
Did you?
Did we have a second?
Yes, second.
Any-
Okay.
Any further discussion? None heard, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, and then I think we probably should have just a general overall approval motion for that application.
You want four? You threw me on this. What do you,
Yeah,
what do you
so
want?
maybe we'd structure it towards just kind of the context of the whole application, you know, within.
Oh, okay. Okay. I move that the applicant has demonstrated that the provisions of section 4.3.6, 4.3.5, 4.3.4, and 4.3.2F have been met, and therefore the board finds as a matter of the factual conditions have been met, and the board finds therefore as a matter of law that the application is approved.
Second.
Right, any further discussion?
Do we want to make it, we haven't talked about conditions, we have to make sure that you get the permit.
Yeah, it's I think the conditions are pretty clear in the individual sections, so like if the approval conditions are anything beyond like state and federal.
Mhm,
And
Yeah.
the board didn't have. it.
Correct.
So it's
okay,
I don't think those are conditions.
I think
correct.
it's explicit that you guys have to have those levels of permits.
right,
And any condition we would assess would be above and beyond that,
Mhm.
so,
okay.
all right.
Second.
Any further discussion? None heard. Vote on the final approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Congrats.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heidi.
Thank you, Heidi.
I'll just say to the board, between the dedication of getting to the sites and weather and actually reading the applications, we really appreciate it. I actually spent a lot of time at different planning boards and I see how hard this board works to look at the materials. Even though they're being enjoyed, I want to know that it's appreciated with the applicants and the agents doing well dedicated time you guys do, and it shows. And that's sometimes they're tougher meetings and that, but that's not because of you, but it shows you guys are putting the work. It's so genuinely appreciated.
Thanks, and you know, some of the in general, I mean, in last 10 years I've seen. I mean, the applications are getting more complex, you know.
And when I see one that involves second floor, I just dial and stuff, because it's just
But
not.
I like what we did tonight with section 4, where we reviewed it and then we referenced it.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
because-
I still look forward to a comprehensive
Yeah,
flow chart that allows us to, first of all, not have to work backwards.
yeah, is there
And
anything jumping back to the agenda,
Yes.
sorry. Any other stuff to talk about?
no, I can just tell you with respect to the Luso, we had a very sparsely attended meeting last time. And we did review the solar ordinance again, and we will be putting that through the mill again. We didn't continue to review the proposed uses and definitions, because it just didn't seem to make sense to wade through those when there was only me and one other member of the committee there. We have a meeting coming this next Tuesday. I will be sending out I'm emailing to everybody about that. I probably will not, I have asked Noel to chair that meeting. I have at long last an ophthalmologist appointment to prepare for cataract removal, and therefore I won't be. And that's late that afternoon, so I know what my priorities are. So I probably won't be at that meeting, but I will, but Noel will have it well in hand. So, I invite everyone and anyone to come and participate in that, but
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. Thank you, you are a stalwart.
All right. Any other? None heard.
Motion to adjourn?
Second that.
All right. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, turn us off. Alan.
I don't know if this is gonna work.
Bye, Heidi. Thank you, Heidi.
Thanks, Heidi.
I want to see.
Good night, guys.
Good night.